Good morning. We are going to give a moment to clear the waiting room and make sure that folks have connected to audio so that they can hear us. As a reminder, when you are entering from the waiting room, please do remain on mute unless or until you are testifying before the board. Good morning. This is a hearing before the licensing board for the city of Boston. Today is Tuesday, February 6th, 2024. Today's hearing is being held pursuant to temporary amendments to the open meeting law. That is what allows us to meet virtually. Today's hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the City of Boston's website. Before I review procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman of the Board, Kathleen Joyce.
Good morning. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm Chair of the Boston Licensing Board. Thank you for joining us today. I'm also joined this morning by Commissioner Liam Curran and Commissioner Kiana Saxon.
Thank you. Please ensure that your audio and visuals are working properly. I will call each item in the order that it appears on this morning's agenda. I will then ask who is present on behalf of the licensee and who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department, and whether there are any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify. I will then swear in all parties. After that, the police report will be read into the record, and the licensee or their representative will have the opportunity to make a brief statement, followed by questions by the chair and commissioners. All testimony will be limited only to those individuals with firsthand personal knowledge of the alleged incident. We'll begin with the first item on this morning's agenda, calling item number 1, BHC Corporation General Partner doing business as Club Cafe, located at 209 Columbus Ave. Dated the incident November 4th, 2022. 911 call for staff on patron assault in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Chairman. My name is Donald Vaughn. I'm with Burns and Levinson, and I'm present on behalf of the licensee. I also have the general manager of the licensee, Jim Morgrave, who is present here. And in addition, I believe, yes, Tim Yeager, who is head of security and was on duty that evening, is present also.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Can't get the video.
Michael Sullivan.
Detective James. Just trying to get my video to work.
Thank you, Detective. We have Officer Sullivan.
Officer Mike Pankovich.
Officer Pankovich. Thank you. And Officer Pankovich, is it possible to turn your camera on as well so we can swear you in?
No, hold on. That's not the one.
Thank you. Detective James, it seems like we are having trouble accessing your video. Can you please affirm to the board that you will raise your right hand when asked to do so?
I will. Just working on the video still, but I will raise my right hand.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? And Detective James, can you just please affirm that you're raising your right hand?
My right hand is raised, sir.
Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Who will be reading the police report into the record?
No. Detective James, I'll read the report, sir.
Thank you, Detective James. You may please proceed.
Okay, in regards to this incident, at about 12:21 a.m. on 11/4/22, Officer Pankovich in the Delta 421 Alpha Unit, along with Officer Mahoney in the Delta 441 Alpha Unit, and Sergeant Sullivan in the Delta 912 Unit, responded to a radio call for an assault in progress at Club Cafe, 209 East Avenue. Still in? On arrival, the officers were directed inside by security. Officers spoke with security manager Tim Yeager and manager Stephen Fonseca. Mr. Yeager stated that he was alerted by security staff of an incident in the area of the bathrooms. When he got there, he was notified that one of their security staff had punched 2 patrons. Mr. Posega stated that he was alerted of the incident and headed to the bathrooms and observed a fight between their staff. Robinson, Ambrose, victim 1, Juan Seda. Mr. Posega stated that he intervened and attempted to pull the suspect off the victim. Mr. Posega stated that he was pulling the suspect away from victim 1. The suspect punched victim 2 in the face several times. Mr. Posega stated that he was able to separate all parties. Officer Pankovic was brought into the kitchen where the suspect was located. Mr. Ambrose stated that he was positioned in the area of the bathroom and stated that while in the area of the bathroom, victim 1 walked past and began to hit on him. Mr. Ambrose stated that the victim kept hitting on him even after he asked him to stop. Mr. Ambrose stated that a verbal altercation between them occurred, and during that, the victim threatened to kill the suspect. Mr. Ambrose stated that the altercation became physical and ended up on the ground. Mr. Ambrose then stated that while dealing with victim 1, a second individual approached and began to yell at him. Mr. Ambrose stated that it was at this point that he punched victim 2, Mr. Christopher McGee. The officer attempted to speak to victim 1, Mr. Juan Seda, but he was extremely intoxicated and refused to speak with the police and denied being in a fight. Officers then spoke with victim 2, Mr. Christopher McGee. Mr. McGee stated that he was in the bathroom when the altercation started. Mr. McGee stated that victim 1 walked past Mr. Ambrose and called him handsome. Mr. Ambrose told victim 1 to shut the F up. Victim 1 and Mr. Ambrose got into a verbal argument about getting hit on. Mr. Ambrose then directed victim 1 to leave. Victim 1 left the bathroom area and Mr. Ambrose followed. Mr. McGee then stated that Mr. Ambrose began to punch victim 1 several times in the head, yelling, "F you, faggot," several times. Mr. McGee.
Sorry, Detective James, your audio just cut out. Just asked you to unmute again.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Okay. All right, I'll go back to the top. Officers then spoke with victim 2, Mr. McGee. Mr. McGee stated that he was in the bathroom when the altercation started. Mr. McGee stated that victim 1 walked by Mr. Ambrose and called him handsome. Mr. Ambrose then told victim 1 to shut the F up. Victim 1 and Mr. Ambrose got into a verbal argument about getting hit on. Mr. Ambrose then directed victim 1 to leave. Victim 1 left the bathroom area and Mr. Ambrose followed. Mr. McGee then stated that Mr. Ambrose began to punch victim 1 numerous times in the head, yelling "F you, faggot" several times. Mr. McGee stated that he was shocked at this and attempted to intervene by yelling at the suspect. Mr. McGee stated that Mr. Ambrose turned towards him, yelled "F you, fag," and punched him in the face and the side of the head several times before it was broken up. Mr. McGee was checked out at the scene by Boston EMS, but declined to be transported at that time. Later in the night, Sergeant Sullivan issued Club Cafe a licensed premise violation for staff on patron assault. Sergeant Sullivan, while I was on scene for that incident, met with Tim Yeager, the manager of the club, conducted a licensed premise inspection, code 35. He found Mr. Yeager and the club staff to be cooperative and the license to be conspicuously posted. With a licensed premise inspection notice was issued. That's what we have.
Thank you, Detective. And we do have 2 supplementals as well. We will be reading those.
Detective James read the first supplemental. The second supplemental is just a clearance report from following the arrest of Mr. Robinson, Mr. Ambrose, I should say.
Thank you, Lieutenant Troy. Attorney Vaughn, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thank you. First, I'd like to mention that Steve Parica, who was also a member of the staff on scene at that night, is on this the Zoom call. And I also need to correct one thing. I had delivered a letter yesterday to the board. There's one misstatement in it. I had thought there was no video of the incident, whereas in fact there is of the incident itself. Later, there was a statement in the one of the reports that the victim one appeared to be intoxicated. We had tried to get security camera footage showing the victim one walking around and not appearing to be intoxicated. That was the memory of employees of the licensee. However, because the incident happened over a year ago, by the time we got the police report and that statement, the camera had already automatically deleted that footage. We had preserved the footage with regard to the incident itself and can provide that to the board if the board would like. Okay, that being said, what I'd like to say first off is that this is a once in the life of this licensee incident. The licensee has been has held a license for over 40 years now. It has not had an incident like this before. In addition, I should say that Club Cafe is known in the LGBT community as a welcoming space. It is a space that is oftentimes used by LGBTQ community groups and members for fundraisers. It is largely LGBTQ owned, and this incident is painful to the organization to have happened, given the homophobic slurs that are alleged to have been thrown around. That said, just wanted to be clear, and I don't know, given this format, whether this is possible, but it's my understanding from speaking with the club employees, licensee employees, that they fully cooperated with the police. And if we could just get some affirmation of that, that would be appreciated. Even nodding of a head that yes, there was no indication of they're not
Yes,
cooperating.
yes,
Yes, I can actually,
assisted us the entire night.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
yes, and as a detective, I can agree with that also. They provided video and they were cooperative.
Thank you very much, Detective. The incident itself is one that resulted in the immediate firing of Robertson Ambrose that evening. This, we believe, is an incident that the licensee could not have foreseen. It acted in a reasonable way leading up to it, during it, and following it. Leading up to it, excuse me, Mr. Ambrose was viewed as a very good employee. He had been employed by the licensee for only about 6 weeks. During that time, he seemed totally comfortable with the environment. During the hiring and also training, it was made clear to him that the licensee is frequented by large numbers of members from the LGBT community, and that if he were uncomfortable with that, he did not indicate any, he did not articulate that either verbally or indicate it by his actions. So this was a surprise to the club. When this occurred, the club promptly took what it believed to be the right steps, not only in calling the police. It may have been that victim number 2, Mr. McGee, also called the police. We were a little unclear about that from the report, but the club also did, Mr. Yeager did. In addition, once the incident occurred, Mr. Ambrose was fired that evening or that night. He, as was alluded to by, I believe, Detective Troy, was subsequently charged by the district attorney with assault and battery and also with violation of civil rights. That matter is still proceeding. In fact, tomorrow there is a hearing in it for jury election and for discovery. So that's proceeding apace. After Mr. Ambrose was fired, he in fact contacted Mr. Yeager, head of security, a couple times to check in on the victims, mainly victim number one, and expressed remorse at what had happened. Club Cafe, the licensee, has used this incident following it as a part of its training as to what can never happen again by any employee of the club, and has not been and has been has included this in many of its trainings going forward. One of the things that I'm, obviously trying to think, is it that relevant to the incident or not? The use of the word, effing faggot, sorry, that's what the report says, is something that is in the report. It came from testimony by, I believe, victim number 2, Mr. McGee, to the police. But it's something that employees of the club frankly did not hear. We're not saying that Mr. McGee didn't hear it. It's just that it's strange, given the close quarters, that employees of the club would not have heard that, where Mr. McGee included it in the report. In summary, the club did what it could to screen potential employees. It then trained them well. It made clear to them, as part of the hiring process, the nature of the clientele of the club. And when its policies were violated, promptly acted by firing the Mr. Ambrose. In addition, the club has used this incident as a teachable moment in what needs to never occur again at Club Cafe. I don't know if Mr. Morgrace or Mr. Yeager have anything to add. Jim and Tim.
I think you pretty much said everything in there.
Yeah,
Jim?
I'm good. I would just reiterate that that we do a criminal background check on everybody that's hired here, as well as reference checks, and nothing out of the ordinary came up in either of those. And clearly this is my personal worst fear when dealing with all of the security personnel that we now use to manage and keep the club safe, both internal security and external security. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, Attorney Vaughn, before we move to questions from the board?
No, thank you.
Thank you. We'll see if there are any questions, beginning with Chairwoman Joyce.
So, sir, I am Christopher McGee, and I am victim too. I just want to make sure that you know that I'm on Zoom and would like also to testify and give a statement. I just want to let you know that I'm here, and whenever that's appropriate to do so, I would like to do so.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. I do not believe you have been sworn in yet. So can you please raise your right hand?
Sure,
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions for the licensee, or would you like to hear Mr. McGee's testimony first?
I just have one question. At the outset, they mentioned that he was employed for 6 weeks and trained. What does that training consist of? Is it in-person training? Is it a module? Is it online training?
It's in-person training. We take them around the club, show them all the areas of the club, exits, everything, how to keep people safe, where to take people, what to look for in the club, all that information.
Specifically, do you have any training on de-escalation?
We do tell them, yes, and we have a no hands-on policy, specifically a no hands-on policy. They are all told that. prior to hiring and after they're hired. The only time, if we have to restrain someone and call the police, if there's any kind of an incident like that.
And you also have an employee manual, which they are given
Correct.
and gone through.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you both very much. I don't have any other questions.
Commissioner Curran, or Commissioner Saxon, any questions at this time?
Not this time. Thank you.
None from me at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. Please proceed if you would like to provide any additional testimony to the board to consider.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to first thank the board for allowing me to appear here and give a statement of what transpired and the impact that it has and had on me. I've been going to Club Cafe. I've been out since the late 80s. I went through extensive amount of homophobia. I was forced out in 87. I was a 16-year-old kid. I've been going to Club Cafe for 32 years. And, you know, this incident brought back a lot of internal stuff that I went through back for 20 to 25 years. You know, thankfully, I survived the HIV crisis. I've been a victim growing up in a very rough city. I was, again, outed. I did not come out voluntarily. I was outed involuntarily. So I was subjected to a lot of violence growing up. And for a gay man that's 51 years old to go out socializing in a safe space within the LGBTQ community at Club Cafe, to have my guard down, that's where I should feel the most safest. That should be the safest environment for me. And unfortunately, it wasn't. And I want to let the board know, not only was I victimized by Mr. Ambrosio, the suspect that was apprehended and arrested, but I was also victimized 2 other times. And the first time I was victimized is when I was in the bathroom when it was just us 3. And the police report says that the victim 1 was hitting on Mr. Ambrosio, the attacker, and the bouncer. And I hope you all know what hitting on means. The only thing this overly and grossly intoxicated patron that they served way too much alcohol. To me, when you go into the men's room, it's very a narrow corridor. The attacker was standing in this narrow corridor as you enter the men's room. The intoxicated patron came into the bathroom and squared off with the bouncer. I washed my hands and I'm unable to leave the bathroom. And I'm watching this intoxicated patron. He couldn't even hold his balance up well. He was stumbling left and right. And he was slurring his words. And he was talking in a very lethargic manner. And the only thing the patron said to this individual, Mr. Ambrosio, that he complimented by calling him handsome. And that's what set Mr. Ambrosio off. That's when he said, "Get the fuck out of my face, faggot." Well, the patron kind of looked shocked, stumbled, and said, "What's your problem? You work in a gay bar." Now I'm standing there. I'm maybe 3 feet away from these 2 people. I'm shocked. I mean, I can't believe what's happening. So obviously what I'm going to do when I clear the bathroom is I'm going to go to Mr. Yeager and the management, and I'm going to collaborate with security to let them know what transpired and have this individual removed. And I figured that would solve the problem. Well, that didn't happen. This individual was so scared of Mr. Ambrosio and so grossly intoxicated, he didn't even come into the men's room to urinate or go to the bathroom or whatever he was doing. He decided to flee Mr. Ambrosio. And as he was walking briskly, stumbling, I may add, the attacker, Mr. Ambrosio, hunted him down like a dog. This guy couldn't even defend himself. He was walking forward, didn't even know that Mr. Ambrosio was behind him. Mr. Ambrosio came up and I watched him not only punch the victim, but he used all his might where he pivoted on his left foot and took his right arm as fast as he could, and then he ran as fast as he could, punched the victim in the side of the head, right around the ear, and I never saw someone go down so quickly before in all my life. Now I'm watching all this screaming. The head is very sensitive. People have died from one strike to the head like this. I'm screaming, you're going to kill him. You're going to kill him. And he was just pouncing on his head. And this poor guy, his face was bloody as a pulp. Don't know if he was that intoxicated, didn't even know what hit him. Got up, couldn't even remain his balance. But prior to him getting up, I just kept screaming, you're going to kill him. He was dropping the fucking faggot. So I don't know, the management didn't hear it, but I don't know if they were there because I was over them. And thankfully, I did intervene because I'm grateful for that, because this innocent victim was in tough shape. And by me intervening, screaming what I was screaming, thankfully, bad for me, but good for victim one, Mr. Ambrosio stood up. And he's a very quick guy, I'll give him that much. And before I could even get my arms up, he didn't say, he said, I will fuck you too up, faggot. And then once he hit my head, it was like a TV screen going out. I was in darkness. And when I was swinging to defend myself, I'm hitting the air while the attacker was striking me in the head. Now, I already witnessed what this individual was doing and has done. Imagine the fear that was going on in me when now I'm subjected to what I just watched. Well, I didn't get in one strike at all because I was blacked out. And when I came to, he was pinned against the wall. And there had to have been 3 or 4 security officers, or maybe security officers mixed in with patrons, but I believe they were all security officers. Once my blurry vision came back a little bit, he was still trying to come after me. Now, I listened to Mr. Vaughn, Attorney Vaughn. I agree with him slightly, and obviously I disagree with him on some points. I think Club Cafe has done wonderful things for the LGBTQ plus community. But the story gets worse. On this incident, they failed on multiple levels. And I would like to try to retrieve the video of this intoxicated person, because once I came to, now I was swimming underwater in panic of my life. And who do I run to? I ran to the security manager, the person that's in charge of the entire security for Club Cafe at the nighttime. Basically, the security and safety of the gay community is in this individual's hand. And as we know through history, unfortunately, recent history, there's been many attacks of gay people in gay bars. When you hate gay people, where do you go? Not a bad spot to go. And we've had mass shootings in gay bars. And when this attack was going on, when he was beating the pulp to the first victim, people was screaming in the bar, watching this going on. Then when they see a security staff member get off this individual and start beating beat to a pulp, people were horrified in the bar because they didn't know if they were next. Drinks were crashing, people were screaming, and they were exiting the bar. They didn't know what was next. So when I went to Tim Yeager, I mean, I'm at my weakest point now, and I'm going to him as a leader to say, oh my God, help me, Tim, help me. This is what happened. He sat there cool as a cucumber. His eyes were rolling, mocking me. And I told him, I want this person detained. He's not free to leave. You need to call the police department. You need to secure these witnesses here. He looked at me and said, you do your job, I do my job. And I'm begging Tim. I go, Tim, this guy's gonna die. He's just got his head beat and he's leaving, rolling his eyes. I looked to Stevie, the other manager, and thankfully for him, he looked in my eyes and he gave me comfort, and he kept nodding his head to me, yes. And I looked at Stevie's eyes and he was shocked and had empathy, and he didn't know what to do. He was just beside himself. The manager, I'm telling him, Tim, this is serious. Your bouncer just attacked 2 patrons. Put his hand up like, Tim, I was begging him, secure witnesses. This person needs to be arrested. Do you know who had to secure witnesses? The second victim, me. I had to grab a hold of people and hug them. And thankfully, people are in fear. They wanted to get out of there. Thankfully, I had one courageous person that hugged me back and said, I am not leaving you. I am staying with you. I saw everything, and they're not treating you right. This is not right. And I'm getting a little emotional. And he stayed with me. And again, I'm still trying to work with Tim. I need this guy's information. Call the police, call an ambulance. I was met with, you do your job, I do my job. I do my investigation, you can go do your investigation. Well, I did. That forced me, thankfully, I had to go call the Boston Police Department on my own while I still held a witness. And I ordered Tim Yeager. I wanted the suspect's information. And do you know what he told me? He's left the building. You're not getting it. So Tim Yeager aided and abetted this guy, hid him in the kitchen, and kept telling me he left the building. Now, I have this on recording, my cell phone. At this point, I don't trust Mr. Yeager. I don't think anyone in the room would either. Okay, I call the Boston Police Department now. I'm dizzy, I'm nauseous, I have vision problems, and I have hearing problems. And all this was related to Tim Yeager. Did he, again, offer me, I gave him all my symptoms. Did he call an ambulance for me? Absolutely not. Did he call the police department? Absolutely not. Now, Mr. Vaughn said he called the police department. I would like to look into that. My guess is Tim Yeager might have called the police department after I'm on the phone panicking to the Boston police. Yes.
Excuse me. I'm just going to ask you to not to focus on Mr. Yeager, but to focus on, what you witnessed and.
Absolutely, ma'am. And I apologize, but Mr. Yeager, this is a licensing about an alcohol. He's in charge of that. And if that's the way Club Cafe.
I understand, but as the administrative body will determine that, the regular.
Sure.
I just want you to, if you could just wrap up.
Sure.
Instead of giving your opinion, just share wrap up what happened from your.
Sure, I'm gonna wrap up. This is exactly what Tim Yeager left me. I called the Boston Police Department, and thankfully, I want to thank Sergeant Sullivan, and I would like to thank Officer Mahoney, because they arrived quickly and professionally. They got the name, they conducted their investigation, and based upon their help is the reason why we're able to file charges and provide me aid that they didn't provide me. And then I ended up in the emergency room with medical issues over this. So I think Tim Yeager, the way they're training, he's the manager, the way he handled this horrendous attacks, I feel the board needs to know that. And that's why I am focusing on him as well. And again, I'm looking forward to the criminal case and I'm looking forward to justice. And I appreciate once again, Commissioner, for allowing me to speak. And if anyone has any questions for me, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. Chairman Joyce, any further questions?
I have no
You're
question.
very welcome.
Commissioner Carn or Commissioner Saxon, any further questions?
I guess the point of, did the premises call the police as well? Because the notice says that police were called by a patron, doesn't mean that you guys didn't call as well. Did you call the police?
I went to call the police and they were walking in at the time that I was calling. Mr. McGee's testimony there is not anywhere close to what we were saying about the whole situation.
Did you call the police?
When I was on the phone, they were walking in. Yes.
Okay. How
They,
long would
I
that
was-
have been between?
pardon me?
How long would that have been between the time that the incident occurred and you were just about to call the police and they walked in? What was the time?
I don't recall off the top of my head, 7 or 8 minutes, maybe. They arrived very quickly. I didn't realize that they were even called at the point that when they walked in.
You went 7 or 8 minutes without calling the police for this incident?
I was still working with getting them separated, separating Mr. Ambrose and trying to find out from him what happened, trying to find out from everybody what happened.
Did anyone from Club Cafe call the police in those 7 or 8 minutes?
I'm not sure.
Attorney Vaughn, do you know the answer to that question?
I do not know.
Okay, what video do you say you have video for us? What is it of? And what don't we?
Of the actual incident itself, from when Mr. Ambrose hit the victim number 1, and also when he pushed victim number 2, Mr. McGee. Mr. McGee was not knocked out according to the video. I mean, it doesn't show that he was knocked out.
Commissioner Kern, if I may.
Yeah, thank you.
Just reading from the computer-aided dispatch here, I see that the only caller that it notes there is a victim. The caller states the suspect was assaulting another person, and several other calls that all come from the caller states as he is a witness to an assault, so it doesn't indicate in any manner that the establishment called.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add one other thing too? Mr. McGee also stated that he was a police officer and he was going to arrest Mr. Ambrose. And that's when I was over there. I actually heard those words. I intervened at that point and told him he was not going to arrest him. I said, you've been drinking, you can't be involved with this situation if you are an officer right now. And that's, at that point, with that information.
Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
Yeah, just a couple. So, how many security staff did you have on that evening?
Typically, we have anywhere from 8 to 10. We have people located outside at different positions in the club.
And so Ambrose, was he located near the bathroom? Is that why he was?
Yes, he was in the bathroom area.
Was it just part of like he's on a tour, just he goes
Nope.
through the bathroom, or
No, he was
stationed?
stationed in the bathroom area. Yes, we have people stationed in the bathroom area, people stationed in the club area, people stationed at the side door, front door.
And how many patrons were there that evening?
Oh, I don't recall.
It was a
Maybe
very
a
slow
couple.
night, at least.
Yeah.
When the incident occurred, like I was in the lower bar area and there weren't a ton of patrons around at the time.
And was there an internal investigation? Did you write down statements of other patrons? Like, did you talk to them, or did you, like, what was your internal investigation procedure?
I asked, obviously, Mr. Ambrose and any other the security that was around in the area. There were no witnesses that wanted to say anything.
This is, excuse me, this is Donald Vaughn again. Tim, can you explain what the explain that you have on-staff security together with a security service?
Correct, we do. We have inside and outside security. We hire outside as well.
And both the outside security and inside security, on-staff security, filed incident reports as part of the Club Cafe procedure, copies of which are in the materials which I provided to the board.
Correct.
There's testimony that there was excessive drinking. Do you have any receipts of either victim?
I do not. In the video, you can see the first individual when he got up. You can see that he wasn't stumbling. So I don't. It's clearly in the video. You can watch the video.
So just as a point of information, can we get that video or we could talk about it here or offline? What is the best way of getting the video to the board?
There are two methods. You can either email it directly to licensingboard@boston.gov, or you can drop off a flash drive to room 809 in City Hall. And either way, we will make sure that it's provided to the board as soon as received. Anything further from the board?
I do have another question for the premise. What was his experience in the area of nightclub security, and what was his references? And I just want to say in general, I don't want to put too much on you in this case, but I am concerned with the idea that someone with a particular animus towards a particular community would infiltrate premises that serves that community. And, you know, I'd like to explore a little bit the idea of like what can be done, what was done, what could be done in this. I know that obviously if someone wants to hide their motivations, they might be able to, but in this case, you know, what was his experience and what were the reference checks?
To my knowledge, I don't have the application in front of me, but to my remembering, he had no prior security experience. And we don't require prior security experience because we train inside.
And
references are called that they give on their applications, and nothing came back.
Could I just weigh in towards his I don't know, his character, I guess. In terms of the homophobic accusations, when he started working, he became friendly with me. I DJ at Club Cafe as well. He would come in as I was setting up, and he would kind of just talk to me and ask me questions. So we got like a friendly rapport. And at one point he disclosed to me that he started working at Club Cafe because he was unsure of his sexuality and he was hoping to become more comfortable with that. So I personally never heard any slurs. So I find it hard to believe that someone who is trying to work at a gay venue to become more comfortable with their sexuality would throw that out. And that's just my opinion.
Anything further from the board?
I need a moment. I'm reading something else that they submitted. I think I've asked all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman Joyce, Commissioner Saxon, anything further? Board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 2.
I'm sorry, I think the victim actually has his finger up like he wanted to have something else.
Okay, Mr. McGee.
Yes, thank you. I just want to, Tim Yeager went on the record, and this is being recorded, and it's going to be for anyone in a view. And I do want to put it for the record is Tim knows I've been a police officer for decades. And typically, yes, I wanted to stop and hold him so Boston Police Department could come down. I have sworn in the county, and I was trying to collaborate with Tim, and most well-attuned managers would use me as a resource and collaborate with me. And usually when off-duty police officers watch someone get their bag beat out of them and then they get beat, they will tend to usually want to hold the suspect that did that. So I want to go on the record. I don't want anyone to think that I'm not a police officer and I was lying that I was a police officer, but I am. And I took the most reasonable actions that I possibly could. So I just wanted to put that on the record that most off-duty police officers would have conducted themselves from the same fashion that I did. And they would have met with different security managers to collaborate with us to rectify the problem. And I just wanted to go on the record. And again, I want to thank everyone for allowing me to testify.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. One last time, anything further from the board on this matter? Board will take this matter under advisement. Calling item number 2, Concord Entertainment, Inc., doing business as Bill's Bar, the Lansdowne Pub, located at 9 Lansdowne Street, date of the incident August 6, 2023. Contaminated drinks in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and fight in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Morning, Attorney Green, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dennis Quilty, attorney representing the licensee. With me this morning, Anthony Chuga, who was the manager on duty on the night in question, and Katina Corapines, who's the head of loss control for the Lions Group. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Hi, Officer Kaylee Jacobs from District 4.
Thank you, Officer
And,
Jacobs.
Sergeant Andrew Medina from District 4.
Thank you very much. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Who will be reading the police report into the record?
I am Officer Jacobs.
All right, Officer Jacobs, you may please proceed.
About 1:41 a.m. on Thursday, August 6, 2023, Officer Jacobs and Cavallari in the Delta 105 Alpha responded to a sick assist at 9 Lansdowne Street at the Lansdowne Pub. Officers arrived on scene and spoke with an unknown friend who stated her friend/victim, Taylor Ryan, was potentially drugged from Lansdowne Pub. The unknown friend stated they went to Loretta's last call for one drink and then went to Lansdowne Pub shortly after. At Lansdowne Pub, the friends were separated for about 10 minutes and had drinks. When the girls came back together, the victim, Ryan, stated she does not feel good and feels like she had been drugged. The friends say the victim had approximately 4 drinks total. The victim was vomiting and unconscious when officers were there with the victim. EMS A2 transported the victim to Tufts for further evaluation. And I believe it's going to be August 10th, not August 6th for the date of the incident.
Thank you. There is a supplemental as well.
Yeah, so at about 1:43 a.m. on Thursday, August 10th, 2023, Sergeant Medina performed a license premise check at Lansdowne Pub. The other assistant units were Delta 105, which is Cavalieri and Jacobs, 201, 103, 107. License premise check was for a 911 call pertaining to medical assist. I spoke to the manager, Mr. Chuga, who assisted me in reviewing all relevant licenses, which were posted conspicuously. In addition, Mr. Chuga was cooperative with officers. That's everything.
Thank you very much. Attorney Quilty, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yeah, thank you, Attorney Green. Officer Jacobs, you responded to a call.
Yes, that is correct.
So you have no personal knowledge of anybody being drugged or having consumed anything. It was
Correct.
reported, okay.
Yes.
And do you know that the call was made by Mr. Chuga, who signed the inspection notice as well that night?
I'm sorry, what was that question?
Do you know that the 911 call was made by Mr. Chuga, who works at the establishment?
He was very cooperative. I didn't know he was the 911 caller, but that would make sense considering he was with us the whole time.
Okay. And he cooperated with you?
Yes.
Okay. Excuse me, and then Sergeant Medina, same, sir, you responded after the incident and have no personal knowledge of anybody having consumed anything at the establishment?
That's correct. I was notified by my officers, so I responded for a license premise check since it happened in a licensed premise. And once again, Mr. Chuga was very cooperative with me and all the other officers.
Okay, thank you, sir. I have no further questions. If I may just have Mr. Chuga take the stand here. Anthony, you've been sworn, correct?
Correct.
Just state your name for the record and your position with the establishment.
My name is Anthony Chuga. I'm one of the floor managers. I was the floor manager the night of the incident.
Okay, and can you explain in your own words what occurred that evening and what brought your attention to this young woman?
Yeah, so I had a bartender tell me that someone needed help and we potentially needed to call an ambulance. It was two female bartenders. They went into the women's bathroom, helped the girl out through the kitchen. And immediately, as soon as I saw her body language, I didn't feel right with the situation. The friend says that she had never seen her like this, that she believed that she may have been drugged. So immediately, as soon as I saw the girl, I'm already on the phone and making the phone call. And I let the ambulance know that what the situation that they were coming into. We escorted the girl out into the alleyway, as it would be the easiest way to get the ambulance down to us. And from there, we just waited for police and EMTs to arrive. We stood by the entire time, making sure that the both parties were fine.
Okay, all right. And then do you have any information to offer as to whether this person was served any spiked drink in the establishment or any knowledge whatsoever?
From what I know, no one reported anything that wasn't seen from us. We just kind of heard the back end of the story and proceeded with what we thought was best.
Okay, all right. And the two bartenders were female as well?
Correct. And they stood by the entire time as well, waited for the EMTs with us. They were there the entire time.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. The commissioners may have some questions for you. Thank
Absolutely.
No questions regarding his testimony so far.
Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon?
I don't know if we're to this point yet, but do we have a video search regarding this incident?
Well, what happened here, we had no knowledge of anything occurring, Commissioner, in the establishment, so there was no video taken, if you will, at the time of question. There was nothing to video, quite frankly. We didn't know anything until the woman came out of the bathroom and we assisted her.
So on the evening in question, did you know there was an allegation of a potential spiked drink?
Well, Anthony, I think other than the woman who was with the person who was sick thought that the woman had been given something spiked or drink.
Was it conveyed to you? Was it conveyed to the premises?
Anthony?
She told us that she never seen her like this, that she thinks that something may have happened to her. She says she's not sure what she may have taken. And that's why we made the call to the EMTs.
Okay, that's all I have for the.
As we know, this problem is pretty prevalent and it's been affecting a lot of restaurants. Is there anything that you guys as an establishment have discussed or are doing in order to try to prevent something like this to happen?
Definitely. So we definitely have the angel shot implemented in case anyone ever feels that something's happening to them. We have a code posted in the women's bathroom. We have it posted in the men's bathroom. We have it posted once you walk into the door, kind of like off to the side. Nothing was conveyed to us that immediately something was wrong with her. It was bartenders who went into the bathroom, saw what was going on, came to grab me. And once we were helping her out, that's when I made the phone call, just because, like I said, the friend said that she never saw her like this, wasn't sure if she took something. So I just made the phone call to the EMTs.
Thank you. Attorney Quilty, did you have another witness or is that all for the board?
We know, that's it.
Thank you. Anything further from the board?
So it said her friend stated she had approximately 4 drinks total. Are you aware of how many drinks she may have had? Anyone there able to determine that from video or receipts or anything?
Unfortunately, not. From what we understand, she got 1 drink. She had not too many drinks with us. And again, was found in the bathroom.
Okay. Thanks.
Absolutely.
And there, just so the board knows, there is training done at the corporate level for all the establishments, including this one. We're very, very much aware that this is a problem throughout the alcoholic beverage industry, if you will. And everything possible is done to ensure the safety of the public and our clientele, and training is consistently done, on keeping an eye on drinks, keeping an eye on people being served, et cetera, et cetera. In this case, we do not know whether this individual may have taken something knowingly or unknowingly. We just have no idea. We immediately ran to the assistance, helped her out, called the police, called the ambulance, and cooperated in every respect, and will always do so.
I have one final question. Does your establishment offer covers for drinks?
We do. It's they're like stickers. You cut them off at request whenever you want, and we can hand them out. Absolutely.
You do, okay. Do people ask for them?
Not too often. Sometimes people bring their own, and we're fine with that if people want to bring their own. But we leave them on the bar top so you can see them, and if anyone is ever curious what they are, we explain what it is. And they're completely free. We hand them out all the time. But on this night, I don't recall anyone asking for one of the covers.
Okay, and just for a point of clarification on the agenda, it says fight in violation of MGL 138. There was no fight that happened that night, correct?
Not that we're aware of, Commissioner.
Thank you.
There was a fight that occurred while we were going to the medical response between staff and a patron. We were able to remove him from the scene and he had left.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further from the board? Board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Calling item number 3, MYN Corp. Doing business as Dublin Pub, located at 7-9 Stoughton Street in Dorchester. Dated the incident August 29th, 2023. Assault and battery, dangerous weapon, machete, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 15A. Assault and battery, patron on patron, victim stabbed, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 15A. And failure to keep loiterers from in front of entrance and abutting, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee? Oh, hang on, Attorney Gardner, I can see you, but you're currently muted.
Is that better?
Yes, that is better. There's quite a lot of kind of feedback noise behind you. We might be able to make it through.
William Gardner representing the license holder with me is Mr. Mohammed, who was the manager on duty on the evening of the incident, as well as his brother, who arrived later. Also with me is William Dunn, the head of the Big Bear Security outfit, who performs services for the license holder on a regular basis.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Hi, Sergeant Detective DeVito.
Detective James Conley.
Sergeant Brian Carlson.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Who will be reading the police report into the record?
I believe if she's on, an officer, DePina might also be on. If not, I will read the reports.
Thank you. I do not see an officer DePina.
All right. So I'll read the original report and the supplement report.
Thank you very much.
Approximately 12:44 a.m. on Tuesday, August 29th of 2023, officers from the District B2 did respond to 7 Stoughton Street at the Dublin House in Dorchester for a person stabbed who had walked into Boston Medical Center. Prior to officers' arrival, the dispatcher had informed officers that someone had been stabbed, that they drove up to the hospital, that they had been stabbed at the Dublin House. There was a description of the victim, additional information that he was stabbed to the arm, that the injury was non-life threatening, that he was awake and alert. An officer met with the victim. In the meantime, other officers and Sergeant Carlson responded to the Dublin House in order to speak to anyone involved. Sergeant Carlson was the first person to arrive on scene before the officers. Upon arrival, officers observed multiple people standing outside of the above location. Several additional officers did respond to assist with crowd control. Officer DePina observed what appeared to be blood on the sidewalk at the exit of the above. Additional officers canvassed the area and located more blood. They taped off the scene for detectives. Officers spoke to Mr. Ali Nazria, who stated he was called by his brother, that an argument had broken out inside and that they had kicked out both parties. He stated that he didn't know about anyone getting stabbed and that the stabbing must have happened outside. Officers asked him where his brother was, to which he stated that his brother was not on scene and that his brother left, and that is why he was there. Officers did locate additional blood across the street. The detectives did arrive to process the scene. Officers, meanwhile, were informed that a stabbing had occurred by another officer who met the victim at the hospital. Again, the victim had non-life-threatening injuries to his arm. Sergeant Carlson and the officers entered the Dublin House to locate a crime scene. Inside, they met and spoke with Mr. Sami Mohammed, who stated that he heard an argument near the ATM machine and that they had escorted one of the males out of the exit door, waited a few minutes, and then escorted the second male out of the front door. He said that he did not know anything about anyone being stabbed. He pointed out towards the direction of the ATM near the exit door. Officers continued to observe dry blood on the floor inside, including near the bottom of the ATM and leading out to the front door with someone's footprint on them. Security did give descriptions of the 2 males who had been arguing. They said that they did not see anything, that it was just a verbal argument. Detectives processed the scene. They did observe that there were cameras on the property. At that time, it should be noted that it appeared that the dry blood inside of the Dublin House appeared to be tampered with, as if someone had tried to clean up the blood. That's the end of the original report. An investigation followed, as well as my response, which I'm going to read from the supplement report. I responded on September 19th to conduct my licensed premise inspection. I was met by Ali Nasria, who said that he knew why I was there. I said that it was in fact in response to the stabbing that had occurred on August 29th. The only 911 call that I was able to locate was made by the Boston Medical Center Public Safety upon the victim's arrival to the hospital. I did not locate any other 911 calls for the Stoughton Street location. The victim again did tell public safety that he was stabbed at the Dublin house. I noted that when officers arrived, they had observed a crowd outside, but it did not appear any staff were outside monitoring or dispersing the crowd. Sergeant Carlson noted the crowd was initially peaceful but loud. He did document his observations. He reported when he entered the establishment, the door was locked. He was eventually met by an employee, a bouncer, who said he would get the manager, and he was then met by Ali Nasria, who told Sergeant Carlson that he only recently arrived, but was informed by his staff that an altercation had taken place. He said his staff had removed the parties involved in the altercation and was unaware a stabbing had occurred. He said his brother, Sammy, had been acting as the manager at the time. Sergeant Carlson reported that while trying to gather information, patrons were still leaving and loitering outside, and several minor altercations broke out, which had to be addressed by officers, drawing their attention away from the crime scene. Officers had by this time located what appeared to be blood outside the main door, inside by the ATM, as well as inside in a different area. Sergeant Carlson said that the remainder of the staff were not forthcoming with information related to what happened, and that Ali was answering most of the questions despite having not been present, and that everyone was giving short answers, playing on their phones, and sweeping. Detectives arrived, processed the scene. During the course of his investigation, Detective Conley was assigned the case and later went to the Dublin house to retrieve video. However, discovered their surveillance system was not working and only played live video. Another detective in my office, Detective Kennedy, said that he had had a similar issue during a prior investigation, and it appeared the system had not yet been fixed. During a follow-up investigation with the stabbing victim, it was revealed that his arm required 47 stitches, where he had been cut with a machete. I did review the posted licenses, which were posted conspicuously in the front of the bar. All the licenses were up to date and in order, and they were subsequently issued the violation for the patron-on-patron assault and battery by means of a dangerous weapon, machete, failure to keep the loiterers from the front entrance, failure to notify the police, and failure to cooperate. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Sergeant Detective. Attorney Gardner, would you like to address the alleged incident?
I will, Mr. Green, if I could just ask Sergeant Detective DeVito, the victim in this case indicated he was slashed by a machete and had a 47-stitch cut.
Correct.
Okay. And the investigation conducted by you and your fellow officers didn't find anything consistent with that volume of blood on the premises on this particular evening, correct?
What was the question?
If in fact a 47-stitch cut, the investigation that you folks conducted didn't find a volume of blood that would be consistent with that type of cut, did you?
I'll let Detective Conley and Sergeant Carlson, who were present, make the determination about what they observed as far as blood. But as a non-medical professional, I wouldn't opine on what amount of blood equates to what kind of injury.
Okay, that's fair enough. If I may,
and I would also say, again, remind you that in the report, what the officers did note and make an observation of was that it appeared that there was blood inside that had appeared to be tampered up as if someone had tried to clean it up. We would not know how much blood there was originally because it had been cleaned up.
But you also wouldn't know if blood had been tampered with, correct? That's beyond the area of expertise.
I'm just going to jump in. The incident occurred August 29th, is that correct?
Correct.
And Sergeant Detective DeVito got there on September 19th?
Correct.
So I would assume she couldn't figure out how much blood was there that many days later, attorney. So let's move on to the next
Fair enough.
question.
I was just trying to make the point that consistency on the blood, the volume of blood didn't appear consistent with the 47.
Sure, but we're talking several weeks
Fair
later.
enough. Fair enough.
Move on.
Fair enough. On this particular incident, it was a Monday night. The Dublin House wasn't overly crowded. It was staffed by Mr. Muhammad, who was the on-site manager. Their protocol is at the end of the night, his brother Ali would come, or vice versa. If Ali was on, Sammy would come later on in the night to help close out. On this particular night, it was also staffed by the private security company run by Mr. Dunn, who is here with us tonight. Approximately about half hour prior to closing, there was a verbal altercation between two individuals, and we don't know if it's the same individual who was the victim of the stabbing. It was getting heated. It was not physical. They never got into it because of the fact, I believe because it wasn't as crowded, it was noticeable to everybody, and the security folks had been spaced. It was close to the door. Mr. Muhammad went over and intervened, as did Mr. Dunn. They spoke to the two individuals, calmed them down, de-escalated the situation, held them back for a moment, escorted the first gentleman out, and then waited a period of time to escort the second gentleman out. Because it was approximately half hour close to the closing time, they decided to turn on the lights and close it down for the evening. It wasn't a weekend where it would be a little bit harder to do. It was the prudent thing to do from their point of view at that point in time. Nobody complained about any type of stabbing. They didn't see any evidence of any type of stabbing. They didn't see any weapons. They didn't even see a punch thrown. They escorted these two gentlemen out, and then were later, when the police officers came back, they indicated what has just been told in the report, that there was an injury that was reported at the Boston Medical Center. Not aware of any type of incident, not seeing any type of violence. They did not make any calls, any 911 calls, because they were not aware that any type of incident had occurred, and did not observe it within the licensed premises. As far as the cameras go, they had some problems with the cameras for several weeks, both before and after the incident. They had some difficulty procuring the equipment, the replacement equipment that they needed to fix it, which ultimately did happen. I think, if nothing else, in the long history that the Dublin House has been operated by this family, they've been cooperative with the police. If an incident happens, they will face up to it and explain what they did and what they didn't do, whether it was proper or improper. But in this instance, they were just not aware of any type of physical violence occurring between any patrons on the premises on this particular night. I think the report also indicated maybe that the crowd out front was such that it was a little bit more because they closed early, but it was a peaceful crowd and it wasn't loud. And Mr. Dunn and his security company are well-trained and well-versed in disbursement of crowds and de-escalation of situations. Unfortunately, we're not aware that this is what was claimed to have happened. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Gardner, do you have any witnesses you would like to question, or is that all you have for the board at this time?
I will offer them. They can verify everything I said that they're here today.
In that case, we will move to questions from the board. Chairwoman Joyce.
On this night of August 29th, or yeah, the one when the alleged incident happened with the machete, how many security were working for Mr. Dunn's security company, and how many staff did the Dublin House have on?
3 private, with your company.
It was four in total.
Mr. Dunn plus 3 others, and then there was how many did you have? 3 others. Yeah, I got them. So there was a total of 7 people involved in security responsibilities.
Okay, are they working the door? Are they checking for people coming in with guns, knives, and weapons? Can you please elaborate what their role is?
Can you tell them how it works, Mr. Dunn?
The way it works is we have two doors. We have one for entrance, one for exit. That slows down our congestion.
everyone that comes in the door is ID'd, patted down. If they have purses, they're checked before they come inside. So we make sure there's no weapons, no alcohol, anything improper brought into the facility.
That is the protocol, Madam Chairman, every night, it's not a sporadic thing. Just the Dunn Security Company is there every night for the license holder.
And I want to confirm the video is now working.
It is fixed, yes.
How long does your video footage, how long do you retain it for?
A week or two. Between a week and two, they say.
Between a week or two?
Yes.
Okay. When the sergeant detective showed up on September 19th, she noted that the staff was uncooperative and claimed they didn't know anyone had been stabbed. Can you elaborate?
Can I just clarify that point? Just so they were cooperative when I went on September 19th. The manager I spoke to was cooperative. When I refer to them being uncooperative, I was referring to what Sergeant Carlson and the officers had told me about the original incident.
Okay, I think I saw Sergeant Carlson here.
Yes.
Sergeant Carlson, were they uncooperative when you showed up the night of the incident?
I would consider them uncooperative in a way that they seemed that this wasn't really a big deal to them. After we got an indication from the officer that went to Boston Medical Center and spoke with them, we finally made our way inside after dealing with what was going on outside. And kind of contrary to what the lawyer was saying, that it was a loud crowd. We spent a decent amount of time outside trying to deal with that crowd. Verbal altercations that had been dealt with by officers, which was written in the report, that detracted away from our ability to control the crime scene. And even after later on, we had to move a crowd across Columbia Road to break it up. That was, threatening us as we did that. So I would contradict their lawyer's argument that it was a controlled crowd out front. There was no security staff outside at any point. I had to knock on the door, and I believe I was met at the door by their security officer. And getting back to your original point, they were uncooperative in that it was very short answers. It was kind of confusing. The brother that was there during the incident was no longer there. The other brother had gotten a phone call. That's why he came down there. I was getting one-word answers. I tried to talk to the security officer about the blood that we found inside that appeared to have been tampered with, almost as if it had been kind of cleaned up in a way. And he was sitting on a bar stool playing a game on his phone while I conducted that interview, and was still, again, only getting very short one-word answers about what was going on.
And Sergeant, you were told, were you told by the victim that a fight had happened at the Dublin house?
I was not told directly. I was notified by one of my officers. Sorry, I can get her name for it. She was at Boston Medical Center because that's where the original call came from. Officer Thompson responded to the Boston Medical Center and spoke with the victim, and it was communicated to me through her that the actual incident where he was injured was, in fact, inside the Dublin house.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any other questions at this time.
A point on that, Madam Chairman. Mr. Mohammed was present on the premises. He was downstairs cashing out at the time. The protocol is for the two brothers to meet at closing time to close it up, depending on who was working that night. He was never off premises. He was there. There must have been some miscommunication on that end. And the fact that the staff was not aware of the incident probably contributed to the fact that they couldn't offer anything in cooperation.
Ma'am, if I could speak to that. The brother that I met with initially that was there, he said his brother had left, and I requested that he call his brother and get him back here, being that he was the on-duty manager. So I was told, and I don't know if it's on body camera or not, one of the patrol officers that was standing by that, he had left, and I requested for him to come back to the premise to, help us with this investigation.
Can I say something? Yes, just something.
Yeah, I never left. I was, like I said, I was downstairs doing the registers and stuff, and he called me and I was downstairs and I came upstairs and they asked me questions and I answered everything they asked me.
Okay. Thanks.
Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon, any questions at this time?
Attorney Gardner, do you recall, I don't know if you were the attorney before, do you know if we've had people regarding video retention or video, video functionality on the previous couple of hearings that we've had here with Dublin House?
We've done most of them, and I don't recall having any incidents of on any of those incidents.
Okay, I need to be reminded.
Yeah, I think within the last year, I think there were 2 other ones, and I don't remember any video incidents. I think there was one incident off premises that had nothing to do with the Dublin House.
Yeah.
Where he was looking some outside video.
It wasn't captured, right? Because it was too far away.
Right. That's the only incident I remember.
All right, I just had a little something in the back of my mind regarding video, so I wanted to make sure it wasn't that. And I don't have the time. I think we got a notice that the victim wanted to speak, so I'll wait for that.
That is correct. Just quickly before we move to the victim, Commissioner Saxon, any questions at this time?
Just a really short question about just pat down procedures. Just what is your policy at the door?
Pat down, I've showed them before. I go across the arms, under the arms, straight down the back, around the waist. Then I proceed to check pockets, down the legs. If they have a purse or a bag or something, I would like to check it, go in it with a flashlight, see what's in it.
Thank you. We did receive a notice in the chat that a Mr. Fred Ross is with us and would like to testify. Mr. Ross, are you with us?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Can you please turn your camera on? I know you have not been sworn in yet. Thank you. Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Ross, you may please provide any additional testimony that you would like the board to have.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was a fight, but I was near the fight, but I wasn't in the fight. If I was fighting, I got over 1.5 worth of jewelry. If I was fighting, jewelry would have been everywhere. Everything would have been everywhere. I'm the one that just got cut inside. I come there because it's my nephew's thing, and I always come there. I don't live in Boston. I just come there. So for all this to happen, I feel safe every time I was going in there. Was for some reason, I don't know what happened or what occurred. I was near the fight, but I wasn't fighting. But when I got cut, that's when I got mad. Because I felt my life was in danger. I didn't even know I was cut until somebody told me, it was like, come on, let's go to the hospital. So when I looked down to see my arm cut, see me bleeding, that in my mind just told me I had to react as a person and as a man. There's so many stories being switched and saying who did this and who did that. But that's not my main concern. My main concern is for other people's safety. And to be honest, I am very, very appalled that anybody could come in the establishment and bring whatever when they say it's not there. Then people trying to say it didn't happen inside. It happened outside. Then they didn't, like, people didn't show up and see the blood. Then they said it was mopped up and all this other stuff. If the security guard did not grab me from the back, I would have did some harmful stuff in there. He spoke to me in my ear. He said, Nasty, just calm down, just go out, just leave. So that's what I did as a person and as a thing, because I'm a single parent. I got right side paralysis, and I didn't want to go back to my old ways because I just got done for doing 15 years. But trust to be told, people should not have to come to, because they got good food, good music, and good vibes. I came there, I brought a DJ drink, I brought everybody a drink because it was my nephew memorial. So I come out of here out of respect for their father. I'm not no young kid. I'm a grown man with kids, their age. And for this to happen, I'm very appalled. I could have came back and did some dumb stuff and be my old ways, but I'm a single parent. I got full custody of my kids. I came in for respect because I was always taught and brought on respect. But the altercation that happened, I was near it, but I wasn't in it. But I'm the one that got cut. So for that to happen, and for them to say it's outside, I'm really, really appalled. And for them saying they clean up the blood inside so it don't look like nothing, I don't know what to say. I'm flabbergasted and speechless by this.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Anything further before we move to see if the board has any questions for you? Okay, we'll see if the board has any questions. Chairwoman Joyce.
Thank you. I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Carn or Commissioner Saxon?
Mr. Ross, the combatants, the people that were fighting, do you know if they were patrons or you have an idea who they might have been?
Yeah, I know one of them.
Yeah. And do you know what you were cut by?
Yes, a machete.
It was a machete. Okay,
Yeah.
and it was just to be sure, you've reiterated that it was inside.
Yes.
Okay, is there any way that the premises wouldn't have been aware that you were cut?
Oh no, the person that was holding me had to have blood on them because the person that cut me tried to run after he cut me. So the blood had to go everywhere. My friends them had blood all on them too when I got cut because it splashed everywhere.
Okay, actually, I almost missed a very relevant question. How did the fight occur? Was there a big lead up to it, or did it happen kind of suddenly?
No, it happened suddenly. I was bringing the drink to the DJ, and there was two guys right there, and that's when the fight broke out right there and there. But they calmed the fight down. But I guess the dude, who got knocked down, he got up and was mad. I was on my way walking out because I didn't want to die. So somebody was like, "Yo, turn around." So when I turned around, I lifted my arm up, and that's when I got sliced.
Okay, I think that's everything. Thank you.
Commissioner Saxon, any further questions?
None for me, thank you.
Anything further from the board? Board will take this matter under advisement as well. Thank you. Calling item number 4, Guira and Tambora LLC, doing business as Guira and Tambora, located at 4014 Washington Street in Roslindale. Date of the incident, September 10th, 2023. Assault and battery, patron on employee in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Attorney Jennifer Allen for the licensee, and also logged in is Felipe Duran, the owner of the restaurant, and Yahira Garcia, which was the manager and witness on duty that night as well.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Hi, Detective Dante Williams from District E5.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Mr. Duran and Mr. Garcia as well, if you could please raise your right hands. Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Detective, if you could please read the police report into the record for us.
Hi, yes, the report number 232073274 from September 10th, 2023. It reads as follows: about 10:26 p.m., officers McIsaac and Dick in the Echo 202 Frank unit responded to a radio call for an assault and battery in progress at 4014 Washington Street, Guira and Tambora restaurant. Upon arrival, we spoke to Giovanni Santos, the doorman at the restaurant, who stated that a customer / suspect number 1 listed above was smoking a hookah in violation of the restaurant rules. Santos stated that when he informed the suspect that he could not smoke in the restaurant, he became argumentative Santos stated the suspect number 1 was accompanied by suspect number 2, also listed above, and that both were intoxicated. Santos has stated that he escorted both men outside where they wanted to fight him. Santos stated that his manager, Bellica Martinez, told him to stay away from the suspects. Officers also spoke to Bellica Martinez. Martinez did not speak English. It was interpreted by a restaurant staff member, Jahaira Garcia. Martinez stated that she was punched in the face by suspect number 1 outside of the restaurant. Officers observed bruising to Martinez's right cheek. Martinez refused medical attention. There was a report filed the following day on September 11th by the parties involved that were escorted out of the restaurant, and I'll read that report also. Says about 1:15 on Monday night, 9/11/23, Alexandis Herrera and Jacqueline Herrera Pineda walked into District E5 to add their side of the incident that occurred at Guida and Tambora restaurant on 9/10/23. Alexander stated that he was wearing a black shirt with white flowers on it, pink shorts the prior night. Alexander stated that last night when he was settling the bill, the security guard for the restaurant started giving him problems and saying disrespectful things. Alexander stated that when he went outside of the restaurant, the owner came outside too and prevented them from further altercation. Alexander stated that Jacqueline was with him while this was happening. Jacqueline stated that she informed the owner that her bag and her phone were still in the restaurant. Jacqueline stated that the owner told her that she could go inside to get her belongings, but when she attempted to go inside, the security guard stepped in front of her and started saying disrespectful things to her too. Jacqueline stated that the owner began yelling at her, and next thing she knew, the owner grabbed her by the back of her neck and began shoving her. Jacqueline stated that Alexander saw this and went to swat away the owner's hand, but accidentally hit the owner in the face. Jacqueline stated that the owner is claiming that Alexander's punched her in the face, but it is not true. Officer Lopes informed Alexanders and Jacqueline that a supplement will be added to the report.
Thank you very much. Attorney Allen, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Officer Williams, so you were not there that night, correct, on September 10th?
I was not. I was not there the night of the incident. I was assigned to follow up and conduct an investigation.
Okay. And when you did follow up after that, I think September 17th, was Mr. Duran, I believe you spoke with him, was he cooperative?
Yes, he was. I spoke to him, and I also spoke to the victim, Miss Martinez, Bellica Martinez.
Okay, great.
If I may speak. I'm sorry, I had technical difficulties.
Thank you. I do not believe you have been sworn in yet. Could you please identify yourself?
Yes, Officer McIsaac, I responded to the incident as the part of the Echo 202 Frank
Thank
unit.
you, Thank you, Officer McIsaac. If you could just please briefly raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may please proceed with your testimony.
I would just follow up that I did respond there, and that I wrote the report that Detective Dante read.
Thank you.
A 3-wood hybrid and a putter. That's what you use. You know.
I'm not sure who that is in the background. Just really quick, Detective McIsaac, were you there? You responded to the call that night. Were you able to witness the altercation between Alexanders and Mrs. Martinez or have personal knowledge of the incident that night?
Well, I'm a police officer, not a detective, but I responded there after the incident occurred.
Okay. So you didn't see either of those customers at the premises by the time you arrived?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I would just like, I know Mrs. Garcia is on. I'd just like to ask her a few questions.
Sure.
Mrs. Garcia? Could you just state your full name?
Oh, hang on, you are currently muted. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
There we go.
Garcia?
Thanks. And are you an employee at the restaurant Gary and Tempura?
That is correct.
Right. Were you working on September 10th of 2023?
Correct.
All right. And what time did you start work that night?
6 p.m.
Okay. Did you witness the first suspect that was later identified as Alexandes smoking in the restaurant?
Yes, I did.
What was he smoking?
Vape.
Okay. And was he removed from the restaurant?
Correct. Yes,
And did you follow them outside?
I did.
Were they intoxicated at all?
No,
Did you or anybody let them know that they were not welcome to re-enter the restaurant at any point?
that is correct.
Okay. Did you witness Alexandes punch Mrs. Martinez in the face?
Yes, I did.
And what did they do next? What happened next?
As soon as they noticed that we have called the police, they fled the scene.
Have you also read the police report with regard to what the suspect said, Alexandes and Jacqueline?
Yes, I did.
And is their testimony a true narrative of what happened?
No, I did not.
Thank you very much. So just to point out a few other things, I know Detective Williams was not on site that night. I know Officer McIsaac was, although he did show up after the incident had occurred. You've also heard from Mrs. Garcia, who was present that night. I know I have submitted an affidavit from Mr. Santos, who escorted the customers out as he was not available to attend the hearing today. And unfortunately, Mrs. Martinez had a last-minute family emergency, so she was not able to be here today. Just to make a point, I know in the report, they were smoking a vape, like a vape pen, not a hookah. And Mr. Santos removed them immediately from the premises and from the restaurant as he should. They were not believed to be intoxicated, but were in violation of smoking inside the premises. Upon removing them, every effort was made to have them leave the area, but unfortunately, a patron got violent. Unfortunately, there is no video footage for this incident. The owner, Mr. Duran, when this all happened, went to go retrieve the video footage and was having an issue. He contacted the security system company, and apparently there were issues with the hard drive, which Mr. Duran actually contracted the company to replace the whole system, the hard drive, which they've been in the process of doing. I've also included a letter, which I had also submitted from their surveillance company as well. And just to show that they have been in the process and took care of that. One of the pictures I also sent over was of Mrs. Martinez's face, just showing the bruise on her face. It's not believable that a bruise that large was from somebody trying to slap the hand away, as stated in their report. These were violent people. They were removed from the premises immediately. Mr. Santos removed the customers from the restaurant, which is what he was supposed to do to protect the other patrons and customers. And we ask that no violation is found. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Attorney Allen. Chairwoman Joyce, any questions?
Thank you, Attorney. I have no questions at this time.
Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
None for me. Thank you.
None from me either. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
Calling item number 5, J Bond LLC, located at 25 Kingston Street, date of the incident September 22nd, 2023. assault and battery in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A, and a disturbance in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman, Commissioners, and Executive Secretary Green. Mark Evliades, attorney for J Bond LLC. With me, I have Shirok Reza, who is the manager of record, John Saman, who is the owner of the establishment, Jeff Sine and James Bien Ami, who are both security officers who were working that evening, and Cled Selly, who was the manager on duty that evening.
Thank you very much. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Morning, I'm Officer Derek Chan.
Thank you, Officer Chan. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify? And if all of those who are planning to testify could please make sure that their camera is on so that we can swear them in. I'm not sure that everyone you've mentioned, Attorney Evliades, is currently on video. Here we go. Just see another screen pop up. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Officer Chan, if you could please read the police report into the record for us.
About 1:40 a.m. on Friday, September 22nd, Officers Chan drew in the Alpha 1-3 Alpha 1-2 radio call for investigate person threat at 28 Kingston Street, Boston. Prior to arrival, Boston Police Operations challenged advised the officers that the caller stated there's a male outside threatening to shoot people and yelling. The call described the male as a shirtless black male, about 6'1" in height, in his 30s. Upon arrival, the officers observed a large crowd in front of Fed Restaurant and Lounge as the patrons were exiting the establishment at closing time. Immediately, the officers observed the black male wearing no shirt, later identified as Christopher Woodhull, yelling at security staff. At this time, a bar closing, numerous individuals were standing on the sidewalk, appearing to be alarmed by Woodhull's actions. The officers were initially dispatched for a call for a person threatening to shoot people, so officers could attempt to speak to Mr. Woodhull and conduct a pat risk for presence of a weapon. Woodhull was yelling at the officers and stepping aggressively toward Officer Chan to the point he chest bumped him. Was screaming in Officer Chan's face, "Don't touch me, what are you going to do?" As Woodhull continued to yell, the bystanders on the sidewalk continued to gather around, watching Woodhull's actions and yelling. Due to his erratic and aggressive behaviors, the crowd that had gathered on the sidewalk into the street due to his actions, Woodhull was placed under arrest for disorderly conduct. Once Woodhull was in handcuffs, officer frisked him for weapons to no avail. Officer spoke to Alan Omondi, who works as security for Fed Restaurant and Lounge, stated that Woodhull smacked one of his security guards prior to officer's arrival, but security did not hit him back. Woodhull was transported back to District 1 to be booked. During the booking process, Woodhull stated that he was upset because the tall security guard with quotations, short hair like his, and quotation, pushed him onto the ground. Woodhull stated that he has scratches on his right arm and pain on the back of his head from being pushed to the ground by security. Woodhull declined EMS. Sergeant Downey arrived on scene to conduct a licensed premise inspection. Sergeant Downey wrote Fed a licensed premise violation for patron disturbance and assault and battery. Citation was signed by CJ.
Thank you, Officer Chan. Attorney Evliades, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Officer Chan, on the night in question, were the staff and management cooperative with the Boston Police Department?
They were outside on scene, cooperating.
Very good. On this particular evening, which was a Thursday night running into a Friday, at approximately 1:30 in the morning, right around closing time, the defendant Woodhull entered the establishment earlier that evening. He had been a regular in the premises, and the security staff had known him from being in there prior, because it was a Thursday evening. It was not a busy evening. My understanding that there was only a head count of 82 persons inside the establishment. Woodhull notified one of the security personnel that he had lost his job and was hoping to get a employment opportunity at FET. He sometimes works as a DJ and apparently was trying to get the DJ's microphone away from him. After being told that he couldn't do that, he proceeded to keep doing it. Security took him outside, escorted him outside, and asked him to leave. This is when Mr. Woodhull became belligerent. He turned around and he slapped one of the security officers, Jeff Sine. Jeff Sine will testify that as he was slapped, the head of security, James, told him to go inside. He did so. Police were immediately called and officers showed up at the scene. I have James on the line, who is our head of security. James, can you click on, please?
How you doing?
How you doing,
Hello,
James?
we're just to make sure, James, were you sworn in?
Not yet.
Did you? Okay, can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You may please proceed.
James, what's your position at that?
Security. I own a security company. So
you working that night in question?
Yeah. Yes, I was there.
And can you tell us what happened after Mr. Woodhull was escorted outside of the premises?
Hey, you breaking up a little bit.
Could you tell us what happened after Mr. Woodhull was escorted outside of the premises?
Oh, but technically, when we escorted him out, that's when he slapped Jeff in the face, and I told Jeff to go inside, and that's when he started acting up like badly and stuff like that. We called the police. Alan called the police, and none of us, we didn't touch him because I seen on the report they said security pushed him to the ground. None of us touched him. We didn't even touch him. So the police showed up. That's when he started acting up with the police and stuff. So we let the police deal with it.
How quickly did the police show up?
Like it was quick.
Give us a time.
Probably like I say like 3 minutes. Like
were there any other incidents in the club that evening?
No.
Okay. And did you have any personal knowledge of Mr. Woodhull? Had you met him before?
Oh yeah, I know Mr. Woodhull. Yeah.
And had he come into the establishment prior?
Yeah.
And were there any incidences with him being in there prior?
Nope.
Okay. I'd like to call Jeff Sine, please.
Yes, I'm here.
Jeff, how are you?
Good. Yourself?
Good. Could you tell us what your position is at FET?
Security.
And were you working on the night in question?
Yes, I was.
And what was your position? Where were you?
I was inside the premise when the altercation happened.
Okay. And did you see Mr. Woodhull being escorted outside of the premises?
Yes.
Okay. And at some point in time, did Mr. Woodhull say or do something to you?
No, but he did physically assault.
Can you describe that?
So what happened was, from what I remember, during the time that he was being escorted, he fell, he might have missed a step due to the fact that he was intoxicated. And upon getting up, that's when he had physically assaulted him. James had saw the situation. James had saw the him assaulting me, and then he had asked me to go inside, so he could just de-escalate the situation.
And a member of your security team, Alan Amundi, called the police at that time?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call Shirok Reza.
Good morning, I'm here.
Shirok, what's your position at FET?
I'm a manager of record for the license.
Okay, and after this incident happened, did you conduct an internal investigation or an after-action report?
Yes, I did.
You communicated with the employees, management, and staff of FET, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and is it fair to say that as a post-incident remedial action, you placed Mr. Woodhull on a no-entry list so that he's no longer allowed to come into the establishment?
That's correct.
And based on prior actions, we've now got the policy in place that anything that happens in the establishment, the first thing we do is call police, correct?
Exactly. And the second phone call.
Right, and you established that one of our security personnel, Alan, did call the police in the evening, correct?
Yes, they immediately called the police. Thank God. That's the procedure and they did that immediately.
Okay, thank you very much. On this particular evening, I believe that Mr. Woodhall came into the establishment. And from what I understand from talking to the actual security staff who had talked to him prior to the incident, he had just been terminated from his employment somewhere and was looking for employment. Unfortunately, this went the wrong way, and he was in no altercation within the establishment whatsoever. He had just started acting up with the DJ. Security had given him a chance to stop his actions. He did not. They escorted him outside, and for whatever reason, he took it upon himself to assault one of our security officers, wherein we called the police immediately, and he was arrested. Although he made threats of shooting people outside, as the police officer had testified, he did not have any gun on his person. We do have security there that checks people when they're coming in the door, both for IDs and for any kind of contraband that should not be brought into the premises. I would be open to any questions, and so would any of the people who testified, but I would request that the board find that the licensee acted in the appropriate and safe manner and find no violation in this matter.
Thank you, Attorney. We will move to see if there are questions from the board, starting with Chairwoman Joyce.
I have no questions.
Commissioner Carn or Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
None for me, thank you.
No questions from me either. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Calling item number 6, GSTH Investment Group LLC, doing business as Bijou and Rock and Rye, located at 51 Stewart Street. Date of the incident, November 25th, 2023. Assault and battery with a dangerous weapon ×2, a knife, on premise in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 15A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
And Hanley, along with Mete Aslan, Joey Ganem as senior management, who were on the premises the night of this incident, and also Dave Smith, who's the head of security. Morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners Curran and Saxon also.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Good, sir.
Sorry, I'll ask again. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Sergeant William Gallagher reading the LPV into record.
Officer Charles Beaton.
Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Who will be reading the initial report into the record?
I can.
Okay, Officer Beaton, you may please proceed.
About 1:50 a.m. on Thursday, 11/23/2023, Officer Beaton and Bowman in the Alpha respond to a radio call for a person stabbed located at 51 Stewart Street, Boston, which is the Bijou nightclub. Upon arrival, the officers observed a large crowd gathered outside the nightclub, arguing and fighting with one another. The officers then identified victim number 1, Mr. Domingo Williams, outside with 2 stab wounds to the right flank of his back. Boston EMS was immediately notified to respond to the scene. The victim was transported to Tufts Medical Center for medical treatment. The officers soon after were notified by the bystanders in the crowd of a second victim that had been stabbed and currently was still inside the nightclub. The officers responded inside to the main floor of the club and observed victim number 2, Mr. Walden Barzy, date of birth 9/28/79, standing by the sofa area with a stab wound to the right side of his chest. Mr. Barzy refused medical attention, but the officers insisted on Mr. Barzy to receive medical treatment for his injury. Boston EMS responded to the scene and transported the victim to Mass General Hospital for medical treatment. Both injuries were confirmed non-life threatening. The officers secured the scene for Alpha detectives to conduct an investigation. Officers did not identify any suspects on scene at the time of the incident and obtained surveillance footage of a large fight that took place inside the nightclub as well as outside the club, with multiple vehicles parked on the street that were possibly involved in the incident.
Thank you, Officer Beaton. Sergeant Detective Gallagher, if you could please read the LPV into the record.
Yes, on 11/25/2023 at 10:35 PM, Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and P.O. Jenkins in the Alpha 42 conducted a licensed premise inspection of Club Bijou at 51 Stewart Street. This inspection came about because of an incident that occurred at 11/23/2023 at 1:50 AM. Responding BPD officers units were informed that a stabbing had occurred. Officers located 2 victims that were transported to the hospital. That's BPD incident report number 232095241. During the inspection of the 25th, Sergeant Gallagher spoke to managers Mete Aslan and Joey Ganem, who were both working the night of the incident. Both Mr. Aslan and Ganem stated that all patrons are searched prior to the entry. In addition, security footage of the and a log of ID scans that evening would be provided to District A1 detectives. As a result of this incident, Sergeant Gallagher issued a license premise inspection number 050299 to Club Bijou. Assault and battery, deadly weapon, knife ×2 on premise. Mr. Mete Aslan signed for and accepted the notice. That's all I have.
Thank you. Attorney Miller, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Officer Beaton, you were first on scene. Did the management and staff of Bijou cooperate with the police?
That's correct.
And Sergeant Gallagher, when you did the follow-up investigation, did the management of Bijou cooperate with you?
Yes, sir, they did.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Commissioners, this was Thanksgiving Eve, and this was a private party. The pub was closed. The facility had been under contract and rented out for a, believe it or not, friends Thanksgiving party. They had a full late dinner with a Thanksgiving dinner with all the trimmings and additional items like lobster, etc. So it was a rather elaborate affair with the food. There are approximately 180, possibly a little bit more guests in the facility as part of this. The facility opened at 10 o'clock. The food was available at that time, and guests started arriving. This was all family groups, different family groups, and they were celebrating Thanksgiving. Mr. Ganem and Mr. Aslan were there. Mete Aslan was there as part of the management team, and Dave Smith was there as head of security. They will tell you that they had 18 security people on staff that evening, and that it was one of the more quiet, easier evenings where people were celebrating, eating and drinking and celebrating. They had zero warning that something was going to happen. Totally unforeseen to them and to the security staff. I'll give you the basics, and then you can ask any of the three of them. They were all there. Any questions? The first incident occurred with 4 people getting in an altercation. The security staff broke them up and started escorting them out. There was then a second incident, almost just as that one was finishing, with 5 or 6 other people. Security got involved in that, and that expanded to significantly more people. Mr. Ganem immediately called the police. He saw what appeared to be a stabbing. While he didn't see a knife, he saw a motion that appeared to be stabbing. He called that in as part of the when he called 911 to say that there was a stabbing on the premises. At that point, there was a rather large group involved in this. Mr. Smith will answer your questions, but they felt that their policies were to protect not only the patrons, but the staff. They cleared tables. They surrounded the people involved that were still on the premises involved in the incident. They went after the people that involved in the incident that were most aggressive while trying to protect the other patrons and staff, and started to remove them from the premises. At that time, those people were being removed, and some of the other people involved in the incident were leaving, and that's when the police came in upstairs and they cooperated with the police. There was one patron upstairs, as the police report says, who received a wound. We have videos for you, which will be delivered to your office today to show this. We did not, the video doesn't show a knife. It shows a stabbing motion. We did not find a knife, and as the report says, all patrons were not only patted down, but wanded to make sure that there was no any sort of knives or any other weapons that were brought into the facility. We're not sure if they could have been using one of the plastic knives or broken piece of heavy plastic cup to stab these victims. They felt they were puncture wounds, but they, as I said, you can see the video. There was no warning. Everybody was having a good time. It was certainly unforeseen when the first incident happened, and then it progressed from there. I think the security followed their protocols and started getting the combatants outside. The incident started to spread. They then, when it got to be a very large incident, they took action that they had been told to do by surrounding the people involved, getting other patrons away from them, getting other staff away from them, and clearing off the desks, the tables. We never saw a knife. I know the police didn't recover a knife. We obviously know that 2 people were stabbed. We're not sure what they were stabbed with. In the videos, you can see the videos for yourself. We don't see anything on the videos that show a knife, but we do see a stabbing motion. So Mr. Ganem, Mr. Aslan, and Mr. Smith are here to answer your questions.
Thank you, Attorney Miller. We will see if there are any questions. Chairman Joyce.
You may have mentioned it, Attorney Miller. Who called the police on this night?
Mr. Ganem called the police early, and the police were on the premises, and I think upstairs within 4 or 5 minutes of this action starting, when they started walking the first 4 people out. They responded extremely quickly and took control of the situation.
Okay, and does anyone know what they were stabbed with? Anyone from Boston Police? No.
We from the video, Madam Chair, you can see you don't see a knife. You see a stabbing motion, and we haven't been able to ascertain from the video. You can also see from the video that it was a very calm, quiet night when these incidents broke out.
Okay, thank you. That's it for me. I have no questions.
Commissioner Carn or Commissioner Saxon?
Nothing from me. Thank you.
No questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement and we will wait for the submission of the video.
We'll have it today, Attorney Green.
Thank you. Calling item number 7, Mile 22 Inc. doing business as Cityside in the Circle located at 1958 to 1960 Beacon Street in Brighton. Date of the incident, November 9th, 2023. Persons under 21 in possession of alcohol on premise in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 34A, 34C, and 6464A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
How are you?
That's
Sorry.
Delury.
Sorry, one at a time, please.
Seth Delury, Operations Manager.
Julian Bulger, owner.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am Detective Hernandez.
Thank you, Detective Hernandez. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify?
Sergeant Detective Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Do.
Thank you very much. Who will be reading the police report to the record? Detective Hernandez?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'll be reading from a police report which I wrote on Thursday, November 9th, 2023. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez, signed of the BPD License Premise Unit, conducted a license permit inspection of the Cityside restaurant. Upon reviewing the licenses, certificates, and permits of the establishment, detectives observed there was no current inspectional services department certificate posted. The last one there was 6/1 of 23. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Miss Molly Coolis. Miss Coolis was unable to provide detectives with the current certificate. As detectives walked through the establishment, detectives observed 2 patrons drinking alcoholic beverages. They noticed these patrons looked young. Detectives asked them to produce identification to confirm their ages. Initially, the patrons stated they were 21 years of age. Upon further questioning, it was determined that the 2 patrons were under 21 years of age. After a follow investigation, the following patrons were positively identified. Ms. Liv Montenegro produced a California driver's license stating that her date of birth was 12/19/2001. Detectives confirmed that the driver's license was fraudulent. The fraudulent driver's license was confiscated by detectives. Ms. Montenegro then provided her true valid California driver's license, which confirmed that her actual date of birth 12/19/2005. Then a Miss Madeline Lee did have in her possession an expired Mass driver's license belonging to a May Sheehan 4/6/2000 and an expired New Jersey driver's license belonging to a Miss Kara Heck 8/3/2001. The expired driver's licenses were confiscated by detectives. Ms. Lee then provided her true valid New Zealand driver's license that confirms her actual date of birth is 1/26/2005. Miss Montenegro will be summoned to the court. Miss Montenegro will be summoned to the Boston Juvenile Court for persons under 21 possession of alcohol and false misuse of a driver's license. Miss Lee will be summoned to the Boston Municipal Court for persons under 21 possession of alcohol and for false misuse of driver's licenses. Ms. Sheehan and Ms. Heck will be summoned to court for assisting persons under 21 persons alcohol. As a result of what detectives discovered, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 059295 for no current ISD certificate posted and for persons under 21 possession of alcohol on premise. Ms. Kula signed for an accepted notice. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Delury, Mr. Bolger, would you like to address the alleged incident?
I will. In regards to the ISD permit, we do have a current copy posted at the moment. In regards to the evening with the underage drinkers, we did have door staff scheduled at that time. Upon review the following day, the member of our door staff, the person checking IDs, was not present at the front door checking the IDs when the underage drinkers approached. Based off of video review of that evening and the surrounding time of said staff member, we did go ahead and part ways. To reevaluate our IDing process, we went ahead and purchased what we believe to be the best scanner that we could. So we purchased a second scanner, putting that on our second story to increase our staff's ability to have access to that tool.
for staff training. As far as going into the specifics of a fake and what isn't a fake, we don't find a great deal of success in that, rather than ensuring that our staff members are using our ID scanners and then spending the time of matching the face to said person, using the T line, height, eye color, weight, all of those features. And then we do have a policy of scanning any person coming inside who appears to be under the age of 30. And then management is actively monitoring staff and holding them accountable to those standards. So we do take it very seriously, and we have made adjustments since.
Thank you. Anything further, or Mr. Bolger, anything from you for the board?
No, sir.
Thank you. We'll see if there are any questions. Chairwoman Joyce.
What time of day was this that these people got into your bar that were 17 and 18?
The exact time was November 9th at, it says 11:45 p.m., but I believe it to be earlier than that.
10:20.
10:20, okay.
And
And you said you reviewed the video and the assigned staff person was not there as scheduled. Are you saying they stepped away or they didn't go, they weren't, what happened?
They did. They stepped away multiple times during the evening. So the policy is that anytime we have someone on checking IDs, the staff is reliant on that person knowing that they'll check them. So any time they need to use the restroom or step away for various matters, they need to notify a member of the management team, so the member of the management team can go ahead and assume that position.
Okay, and then when they're ordering drinks at the bar, do your bartenders check for IDs then?
Not after the door guys check the ID.
Okay. And this is for Boston Police. Did they look like they were under 21?
Yes, Madam Chair, they did. It's our impression in talking to security and the woman that was seated at a table that they get there before the doorman starts, which is a common practice. They sit down, places a restaurant, and they try to blend in. So the ID process would fall on the server or the bartender. There were a couple of other kids there with them, but we can only grab two. Some of them left the scene, but two of the IDs were expired. So I don't think they scanned them. I think their scanner would have picked that up. But it was like I said, under impression that they got there before the door guys started and tried to blend into the nightclub crowd at a certain time.
Thank you. Question for the licensee. Given your location, given the crowd you attract, given that people probably do try to get in during restaurant hours before it changes over to a nightclub, have you given any consideration to changing your policy for bartenders not asking for IDs?
So to start, I'd like to point out that we don't advertise ourselves. We're not a nightclub. It does go into later hours, later on in the evening. We don't have a DJ on site. We do have those staff members scan the IDs, so they do check identification in the hours leading up into that person getting there. Like I said, we did go ahead and bring in another scanner to increase their opportunity to have access to that tool. So they are checking IDs. When I was saying they don't check them, it's once someone's on the front door checking IDs, they don't check them the second time.
I know, but how do you take into consideration people that who have been there for a certain number of hours and are staying there? They may not have been ID'd because your doorman wasn't stationed there to check IDs when they come in. I know you're not a nightclub, but you are right at Boston College.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all understand that you probably attract underage college kids. So there's a disconnect there. If you only have IDs checked after a certain hour, but you don't ask everybody to leave their table once you turn over and have IDs starting to check, how are you going to determine whether or not everyone who's been staying there, decide to hang out past the dinner hour? 21.
I understand. When the door guy arrives, he goes back through and checks the entire house's IDs.
He does.
So yeah, he does ensure that everyone inside the building does match.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Commissioner Carr and Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
I do not. Thank you.
None from me, thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
Calling item number 8, Cardona's Inc. doing business as Barney's Grill located at 299 Haver Street in East Boston. Date of the incident, November 19th, 2023. Bottle service in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and overcrowding, 102 mechanical count, 62 capacity, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.03J and 1.06A and F. Who is present on behalf of the licensee? Who is with us from Barney's? I do see Kilder on, there we go.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, could you please identify yourself for the board?
Sorry, so I'm just trying to get my camera to work. I do apologize. My name is Kilder Cardona from Barney's Grill.
Thank you, and I think I missed what you just said. Is it possible for you to turn your camera on so we can swear you in?
Yes, I'm trying to get that going right now. I do apologize. I don't know why my computer is acting up.
No worries. I just asked you to start video, so something should have, there we go.
Okay.
We can see you now.
Awesome.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am, sir. Detective Hernandez.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you. Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Detective Hernandez, if you could please proceed with the police report.
Yes, I'll be reading from the police report, which I wrote on Sunday, November 19th, 2023. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez assigned to the BPD license premise to conduct the license and permit inspection of Barney's Grill. While walking through the establishment, detectives observed patrons sitting at multiple tables with crafts of hard alcohol aguardiente placed on the tables. These bottles were left unattended and made available for self-service access to make beverages. Detectives informed the person in charge, Mr. Kilder Cardona, that this is a prohibited practice. Bottle service is not a condition allowed on the establishment's common victual license. Mr. Cardona stated he would immediately correct that situation. Detectives then proceeded to review the licenses and permits of the establishment. Detectives learned that the capacity of the premises is set at 62 persons. Sergeant Detective Gallagher performed a mechanical count of the establishment and discovered that the actual number of persons located inside the premise was 102. As a result of what the detective observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspector notice 059298 for premise providing bottle service without approval of the Boston Licensing Board and for overcrowding. Mr. Cardona signed for an accepting the notice. It appears to be a couple of pictures that we took attached to the hearing notice. That was all.
Thank you. Mr. Cardona, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, good afternoon to the board. How is everybody? On the night where Mr. Hernandez and Mr. Gallagher did come to the establishment, the situation that had occurred for the bottle carafe on the table, what it was not a full 40% or a liquor, as referring to, let's say, like a tequila, a Casamigos, or an Absolute, or a Tito's. In the Colombian culture, what we have is it's called like a Colombian firewater. It's similar to like almost like a Portuguese wine, just with the way it's prepared. So for us, it's always been known as just a cordial, or almost similar to a wine. For example, in the Asian cultures, you have your sake, you have your soju, which all are between, let's say, 12% and 20% alcohol. With our Colombian aguardiente, it is between 16 and, in some rare cases, 24% alcohol. I was not aware of the laws pertaining to being able to serve that, as in my culture, we have always seen it as similar to serving a half carafe of wine, a bottle of wine, a bottle of soju, which is about 12 to 16 ounces. I was not aware of me interfering with any laws or doing something wrong. So once they let me know, Officer Gallagher and Mr. Hernandez, right away I righted the situation. I apologized. It was just something that was unbeknown to me. As far as that, I know that selling bottles of tequila, vodka, stuff like that, is prohibited, but I was not aware the stipulations under the low ABV of aguardiente.
Thank you. Anything further for the board? Mr. Cardona, is there anything further you would like to add for the board before we move to questions?
No, as far as, the second, area with, the capacity. On this night, the reason why there was the carouse as well of the Colombian Aguardiente was, those that are familiar with the Colombian culture, soccer is very big to us. We are a sports driven bar, and most of our income definitely comes from our Colombian driven sports, which is soccer. Now, at this time, I believe when the officers came in, it was about 11:33. If look at the report, I do apologize for any delay, but it was like 11:33 around that time. The Colombian playoff soccer game had just ended. Now, as for any teams, let's say for the NFL, you have your Pittsburgh Steelers bar, which is somewhere in Boston. You have your Patriots bar, let's say in another state that's not New England. You have your certain bar that you go to. So for our bar, Barney's Grill, we are the home base for our team, which is called Deportivo Independiente Medellin. Now, Medellin has two soccer teams. We share the same stadium, the same city, same locker room. Oddly enough, all the Colombian bars around East Boston are home bars for the other team. We are the only bar that represents the Medellin team, which is red and blue. Now, when we have these game days, people love to come, sit down, hang out, get some food. They come early in the day. The games usually will start around anywhere between, if it's a weekday, 6 to 8. Sometimes it's a big game, 8:30. People come with their families early, they eat, then they proceed to leave. On this day, I was staffed adequately to try to perform to the best of my ability and stay within the guidelines of the state and the city and what I'm allowed to do. Due to the capacity, I did have, I had about 9 servers and bartenders working. I had a busser, I had a cook, I had 1 security, and I had one of our family friends, pretty much his family, who was just helping supervise everything because we like to stay on top of it with a busy night. So there was about 15, maybe 16 people that were actually employees that were working for us. It was a little tough because as the game ended, the game ended well, but then we have people in the transition of leaving the bar, which the game that night, I believe, started about 8:15 p.m. By the time the game ended, it takes about 2 hours and 45 minutes. As they were leaving, we had, people outside that were waiting to get in. And then as we were doing the transition, people are all leaving out with big groups. So the doors being open, and I'm making sure, with the security guys I had inside, that nobody leaves with alcohol, that nobody tries to, walk out with beer or anything. But then there's also people coming in. And that transition is where I guess I could be at fault to blame, just to monitor a little bit closer, as switching over from post game to patrons just coming in at night to enjoy watching the game, as well as we have our fans from other bars that don't want to be at the other bars. They like to come to our bars to enjoy a good victory. Same way you're not going to go to a Yankees bar to celebrate a Red Sox win. So we did have an overflow of people, and at that moment I happened to be outside is when I noticed Mr. Gallagher and Mr. Hernandez, and then we proceeded to talk, and this is when they stepped in and started making sure things were in line.
Thank you, Mr. Cardona. With that, we will see if there are any questions from the board. Chairwoman Joyce.
So just to be clear, you knew it was overcrowded.
I'm sorry?
You knew that it was overcrowded?
When earlier in the night, when I had done my check with the security, we had seen that the capacity was actually at 70, which I told him. He had asked me because it's a little confusing when I look at my license. I know it says 62, I believe, or 64. But the security, it's one who had just started, and I always reiterate to him, but the licensing is actually, visible right outside, right inside of the entrance.
I'm just gonna step in. Your capacity is 62.
Yes, 62.
Yeah, 62, which I've been into crowded bars before, and 62 definitely looks different than 100 plus. And these numbers aren't just random, they're done for public safety reasons. So that's all I'm gonna say. So you are responsible for keeping your capacity down to 60.
Yes, I am.
And it's not just, oh, it got a little, excited at the end when we were shifting from game watching to dinner. you are responsible. If that means you need to shut your doors and ask every single person to leave because you don't know, you can't count the people because it's happening too fast, and you need to do that. And second of all, bottle service. Do you understand what bottle service is? You cannot serve more than 2 drinks to a person at a time. I don't care what the alcohol is. I'll check and double check the alcohol content as you were sharing the alcohol percentages, but that's like a hard line for us, and so is capacity. There's no cultural situation that we take into consideration to, you know, offset the law. That's the law, and the law is the law. So I know we've been here before with you over capacity, so I'm gonna say one more time, it's 62, period.
Yes, and I do apologize now as pertaining to cultural law. I'm not trying to use my culture to
No, I understand. We hear this all
guide
the
anything.
time,
No,
but this
I
is a public safety issue. If there's a fire or someone can't get out, it's not gonna be defense that there was a big game going on and everyone came here. Okay?
Yes, I do understand about the capacity, but I'm trying to understand if you're, which one we're talking about right now, exactly. We're
Well,
talking
both.
about.
It sounds like it was a cultural thing, this type of alcohol. Sounds like it was a cultural thing. There was a big game watch. I get it.
Yes,
Happens all over
totally.
the city, but this is a public safety issue. I don't have any other questions. I'm gonna move on to my other commissioners. I've heard your side of the story. So Commissioner Curran and Commissioner Saxon, do you have any questions?
I have nothing to add. Thank you.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement as well. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Take care.
Calling item number 9, Leinster Group, Inc., doing business as Scholars located at 25 School Street. Date of the incident, December 2nd, 2023. Patrons drinking alcohol on public way in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good afternoon, everyone. Andrew Upton for the licensee. With me is Vanessa Lopez, the manager of the proposed manager of record, previously approved by this board, but not yet by the ABCC. And Ron, the doorman.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Sergeant Detective William Gallagher.
Detective Eddie Hernandez, if needed.
Okay, thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. I do.
Thank you. Sergeant Detective Gallagher, if you could please read the police report into the record.
Yes, on 12/2/2023 at 12:22 a.m., Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the licensed premise unit, were driving down School Street, checking on Scholars at number 25. Detectives had received past complaints about rowdy patrons disrupting the neighborhood when leaving for the night. As detectives approached the front door, they observed 3 people with alcohol standing on the curb about 15 feet from the door. 2 were observed with beer bottles, and the third had a mixed alcohol drink. Detectives identified themselves as BPD and asked the 3 for ID. They're identified as Ryan Driscoll, 5/29/99 of Swampscott, Julia McLaughlin, 9/20/98 of Melrose, and Jacob Acker, 4/27/99 of Norwich, Vermont. Detectives informed the 3 that it was illegal to drink alcohol in a public way in Boston and asked them if they brought the alcohol from the bar. All 3 said yes. Detectives proceeded to show the 3 to door staff, who stated that he was distracted by an alarm that was going off. The alcohol was promptly disposed of. Ms. Driscoll, Ms. McLaughlin, and Mr. Acker will be summoned into court for public drinking. Detectives then proceeded inside to speak with the manager, Mr. Franklin Navarre, informing him of their observations. As a result, Sergeant Gallagher issued a license premise inspection notice number 017854 to Scholars. Patrons drinking alcohol in public way. Mr. Navarre signed for and accepted the notice. That's all I have.
Thank you. Attorney Upton, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thank you. Sergeant Detective Gallagher, can you tell us if the staff and management were cooperative during your investigation?
Yes, they were.
Thank you. I would like to introduce our team. We have Vanessa Lopez, the manager, as I described, and Ron, the doorman. Ron, can you state your full name for the record?
Ronald Joni.
All right, thank you. I would like to note for the record that there are no citations on the record, either here or with MoCal, about any rowdy patrons disturbing any neighbors. In fact, I believe at this location, there are no neighbors because it's on School Street. It is a completely commercial area. And there has been some interaction between the licensee and an individual who may or may not be living in the office building next door. But despite the fact that if this person is living there, he's not a legal resident, the management has reached out to him to try to see what his issues are. And I understand that there have not been any complaints from this individual in the last several months. I just wanted to get that on the record. Now I'd like to ask Ron a few questions. Ron, can you tell us how many doormen work at Scholars on a night like the one in question?
We have 2 doormen at Scholars on a busy night, sir.
Okay, and you were on duty that night?
Yes.
And what is your job as the doorman?
We look for people who are intoxicated, try to get in. We check IDs, and we also check to make sure people don't bring in outside food or alcohol.
Okay. So you check to make sure people don't bring in alcohol. How often do people try to bring alcohol out of the building?
It's very rare. I did stop someone with a beer a few months ago, but it's not something that happens often, especially in the winter nights.
Okay, now, was there any reason you were not at the door to stop these 3 people that walked out of the premises with the alcohol?
At the time of this incident, there was an electrical malfunction with the alarm connected to the exit sign that triggered the emergency lighting in the doorway. Me and the other doorman were making sure there was no emergency elsewhere in the building, which is why we were away from the door. The 3 people must have slipped out while we were attending to this issue.
All right, thank you. And for the record, we have submitted for the board's consideration some photos of the emergency lights flashing in
Yes.
that doorway, just so everyone can see what was going on. If I could ask a question of Vanessa. Vanessa, this was a fairly unique incident, but what have you done to prevent this from happening again?
Well, obviously we want to make sure that something like this never happens again. So I've been working with the tech guy to expand our camera view for CCTV. And we're also looking to do for the club nights to have signage so patrons do know, even though they should probably already know, there is no alcohol allowed outside the premises. And also we've been trying to we have most security on at the door when it's closing time. So we usually do have eyes on outgoing patrons, and it is, again, like Ron mentioned, very, very rare that anything like this would happen.
All right, thank you. Just to summarize, the Scholars doormen are trained to keep things safe by keeping outside alcohol out of the premises, spotting intoxicated people trying to get in, diffusing situations, and keeping out underage people. Very rare that anyone tries to leave with a drink, especially on a December night. However, even with the unforeseeable circumstances of this incident, the doorman likely would have stopped the 3 people had the exit sign alarm not been malfunctioning, which prompted the 2 doormen to hurry away to make sure there's no emergency or fire alarm pulled inside. Pictures of the alarm were provided to the board, as I mentioned. You can see that the light from the exit sign is flashing to signal a problem. While the doormen were checking the fire exits, they did not expect 3 people to sneak out of the establishment on a winter night to purposely violate public drinking laws. That emergency light issue has been fixed by an electrician and has not reoccurred since December, and the establishment will pursue additional cameras and signage, as the manager said, to further discourage this type of behavior in the future. With that, we're glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chairman Joyce. Any questions?
Thank you. I have no questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Carn and Commissioner Saxon.
None for me, thank you.
No questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. And calling item number 10, Fan Hall MV Restaurant LLC, doing business as Margaritaville, located at 300 Faneuil Hall Marketplace. Date of the incident, December 1st, 2023. Persons under 21 in possession of alcohol in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 34A, 34C, and 6464A, and failure to identify patrons for alcohol service in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Hector Pereira, General Counsel. We have also
Mr. Jeremy Ward, General Manager and Manager on Record.
Thank you very much. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am Detective Hernandez.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify?
Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you. Are there any other, you've already said that. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Detective Hernandez, if you could please read the police report into the record for us.
I'll be reading from a police report which I wrote on Friday, December 1st, 2023. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the BPD license premise unit, conducted a license premise inspection of Margaritaville, Boston. As detectives walked into the establishment, they observed 4 patrons drinking alcoholic beverages. Detectives noticed that these patrons looked young, and detectives asked them to produce identification to confirm their ages. All 4 patrons stated they were under 21 years of age and were not asked for identification. Upon further investigation, the following patrons were positively identified. Miss Mary Williams, 8/4/2003, did provide her valid Mass driver's license, and Miss Trisha Karakoff, date of birth of 7/31/2004, did provide her valid New York driver's license. Miss Lucy Frank, date of birth of 12/8/2003, did provide her valid Florida driver's license, and a Miss Alyssa Franks of 7/27/2004 did provide her valid Mass driver's license. All 4 individuals will be summoned to court for persons under 21 possession of alcohol. And detectives spoke to the server, who stated that he did not ask patrons for identification. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Miss Kristen Mahone. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection 017852 for persons under 21 possession of alcohol on premise and failure to ID patrons while serving alcohol. Mr. Mahone signed for an acceptable notice. That's all.
Thank you. Attorney Pereira, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Sure. On the night that happened, our trainers were not there that day, but our bartenders were trained. Mr. Ward, which is the general manager, took care of the situation with Miss Kristen. I'm going to let Mr. Ward, who was there that day, what happened and explain what we have done after the situation.
Mr. Ward, you're currently on mute. I'm asking you to unmute right now.
Thank you. Sorry about that, sir.
Mhm.
So the day of the incident, well, obviously we're a new venue, 90 days open. All of our staff had been trained prior. We had corporate trainers come in. We have a national video, and we do extensive alcohol training. Hence the name Margaritaville. We want to make sure we're abiding all laws and doing everything the right way when we go into a new area. This was an isolated incident. We had immediately terminated employment for the individual that had not ID'd these people. We do guarantee that all of our staff that handle alcohol, bartenders and servers, are all ServSafe certified. So they do go through the proper training. We have we have actually a doorman at the door carding on the Friday and Saturdays when it gets to that point. We are a family restaurant that does have some entertainment at nighttime, but our primary source of income is from families here in Faneuil Hall coming here during business hours. And that's kind of how we've handled it. Again, this was an unfortunate isolated incident with an individual that didn't take our training seriously.
Thank you. Anything further you would like to say to the board before we move to questions?
No, sir.
Okay, we will see if there are any questions. Chairwoman Joyce.
I have no questions.
Commissioner Carver and Commissioner Saxon.
Maybe just something in the way of comment, and to refer back to the chair's comments on a previous matter, is don't overlook multiple layers here. Maybe it's not just on the server, but managers roaming around, any other employee that has training to confront this situation for young people sitting there. They could have been confronted by any other employee to double check on this situation. So I would just say, don't overlook multiple layers, especially if you're, once again, if you're going to add a door person, it's still, a server serves a person. They can't be going on the assumption that the door person took care of this. It's I would say it's on everyone on premises to be aware of this.
Yes, sir, and I don't want to, I didn't want anyone to assume that's our policy. So our policy is that even if I come to your table with a drink and I'm new to you, that we have to card you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sorry about that.
How long had the server been with you guys?
He had been with us since we opened, so close to 90 days. And he had good references. He actually is an airline steward for JetBlue, so he handles he handled multiple accounts of people before us, and he was very apologetic. He actually had tears in his eyes and was upset that he didn't do his job well, that he got busy, and just unfortunately a good person that made a bad decision at that day.
Anything further from the board? Board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Those are all the items before the board this morning. That will adjourn this hearing. Thank you, everybody.
Sorry.
No worries. Thank you. That will adjourn this